外国人と日本の料理について話すときに、和食ってまずそうと思わせる英語の言い方を使ってるんでしょうか？僕は日本の料理が好きで、世界の料理の中で一番好きです。I love Japanese food! でも多くの英語を勉強している日本人は、日本の料理を英語で紹介すると、めちゃくちゃまずく聞こえます。
Hey Arthur, do you like raw fish?
No, that's gross.
Okay, then how about sashimi?
Oh yeah, sashimi is great.
What?
Huh?
皆さんこんにちは、アーサーです。あなたが日本の料理を英語で自然に魅力的に伝えられるように、今回の動画では、1、なぜ直訳するとまずく聞こえるのか。2、英語で日本の料理を魅力的に伝える方法を3つを学びましょう。よろしくお願いします。Many Japanese people who study English, when they want to share a Japanese food or a Japanese dish in English, they tend to translate it from Japanese into English and they'll explain the ingredients of the dish. And now I understand that. There's no English word for anko, okonomiyaki. These are Japanese concepts. These are Japanese food. But when you do that, it actually sounds really gross.
You wanna try red bean paste?
No, it's okay.
Raw fish?
No.
Soybean powder?
What?
Now, why is that? Well, there are actually two reasons why. And the first reason is because English speakers need distance from their food. 食べ物との距離？ということは遠くから食べないといけないってこと? No, I don't mean physical distance. I mean mental distance. It may be because of people's disconnect from nature nowadays, but especially in America, people need some mental distance between them and their food. They don't like to think that the food that they're eating used to be alive. And this is even reflected in the language itself. 豚肉 isn't pig meat. Blech. 豚肉 is pork, and 牛肉 is beef. But for some reason, chicken is chicken and fish is fish. I'm not too sure why. But why do we have special words for the food version of pig and cow? Well, it comes from the French words. Le porc, le bœuf. So back in the 1100s, in the Kamakura Jidai in Japanese history, England was ruled by France, and the aristocracy of England was French, and they used French. And so they used French words as their everyday language. And so when they wanted to eat pork and beef, they used the French words. Now at that time, English was originally closer to German. The German word for pig is Schwein, and the German word for pork, butaniku, is Schweinfleisch. Swine flesh, buta niku, just like that. But these French words started to become common in English society, and because it was a different language, there was a little bit more mental distance, and they became cool words, they became natural words, and they just stuck. And even today, we continue to use them because it keeps a little bit of cushion between us and the food that we're eating. And this is really common in America. In a lot of places, people don't buy whole fishes because they have the eyes and the faces on the fish, and it makes people feel uncomfortable. People don't want to be reminded that they're eating an animal, and that's why we invented chicken nuggets. I like the dinosaur-shaped ones. Those are the best ones. Now that's one reason. There's another reason why it doesn't sound very appetizing when you explain Japanese food in English. And that second reason is because there's no category for the food. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, words in English are just labels to categorize the world we see. We like to take what we see and order it in information, say, this is this thing, that is that thing.
All right, Nachan, this is a chair.
I know.
Yeah, it's a board with 4 legs on it, and you sit on it.
I know.
A hamburger isn't just a slice of ground beef with lettuce and ketchup between a sliced sesame bun. A hamburger is a hamburger. It occupies a certain mental space, and there's an image, there's a feeling, there's memories associated with that category of hamburger. But when you just explain the ingredients, you don't really put it into a category. You're not making a category. And so the words are just kind of floating there. and they're just kind of out there by themselves. And mentally, it kind of feels like, okay, but what is this? And it's because of these two reasons that just explaining the ingredients of food in English makes it sound pretty disgusting in English. And so, well, what should you do instead? Well, there are a few things we can do. So the first thing is to create that category. And well, how do you do that? You just say the word. No, seriously, that's what you do. Well, maybe you say it with an American or English accent. So sushi becomes sushi, sashimi becomes sashimi, okonomiyaki becomes okonomiyaki, and motsuni becomes motsuni. Yeah, this does feel kind of weird saying them in an English pronunciation. Because when you just say the word, it creates a new word, a new category, a new label that sounds more natural to people. でもアーサー、それだけじゃイメージが絶対に伝わんないでしょ？だって相手はもつ煮はどういうものかわかんないでしょ？その通りです。One way to explain food in English is just to use the word, but sometimes people don't know what that word means. And so in that case, you need to go to a second way to explain the food, and that's just explain it in simple terms. Now, I know that explaining in English can sound really difficult, but it's actually not. We train our students how to explain things in English in our 今すぐ世界とつながる coaching program, which is on our website. But the basic gist of what we do is we tell them simple sentences, simple words, very, very short, simple sentences. Explain it like you are a 4-year-old. That way, it's actually easier to get the image and for the other person to understand. So for example, to say the word anko, you could just explain it by saying, anko, it's a food, it's sweet, it's red, it's a paste, it's made from red beans. You use it in Japanese sweets. Something like that. There's nothing complicated about it. There's very simple words in a very simple order, but this way it's very easy to get the image.
Arthur, do you want to try daifuku?
Oh, what's daifuku?
It's anko inside a mochi.
Oh yeah, sure.
でもそんな風に説明してもしっくりこないケースが多いんですね。Japanese food and English food is so different. It's hard to even understand it, to get the image of it by explaining the words. So in that case, you can use the third way to share food, and that is by using a technique I call anchoring. Anchoring is the technique where you explain something by comparing it to something else that the other person understands. You connect those two images in their mind. It's kind of a shortcut to explaining. So instead of just explaining the food, you can compare it to a similar food in your friend's country. So for example, for anko, you could say, anko, it's like peanut butter, but it's sweet, it's red, it's made from beans. But Arthur, peanut butter's disgusting. Anko tastes way better. Yeah, I understand a lot of people in Japan don't like peanut butter, but a lot of people don't like anko overseas. We get used to these different flavors in our home country's food that when we try something different, it's so different. It tastes kind of disgusting or we don't like it. But it's interesting how for us, what can taste really good can taste pretty disgusting for someone else. It just shows you the variety of things we have in this world. The key here is not to just focus on the looks, the appearance, but to connect it to someone's mental space, their idea, their feeling about that thing. And so when you explain food, it might be good to compare it to things that you eat at the same time, in the same setting, something like that. So for example, to explain matcha using anchoring, you could say it's like espresso, but it's tea, it's green. Because of course, a lot of Japanese people, when they imagine matcha, they imagine it in the sado funki, in the sado image, right? That scene. But when you have it at a cafe, it's actually quite similar to espresso. It's very concentrated, high caffeine, gives you that kick. So their functions are pretty similar.
Now, sir, matcha って英語でなんて言うの?
Well, there's no word for matcha in English, so you can just say matcha. It's like espresso, but green tea.
エスプレッソコーヒーじゃないじゃん。
Yeah, but you can... never mind.
Alright, まとめに入りましょう。1、日本の料理を英語に直訳すると、まずく聞こえるのは、心理的な距離が近すぎるのと、カテゴリーがないからです。2、日本の料理を英語で自然に伝えるためには、 まずは単語そのまま英語の発音で言ってみることです。あんこはあんこ。お好み焼きはお好み焼き。刺身は刺身。それで伝わらなかったら、極めて簡単な英文で説明するといいです。できれば相手がすでに知っている食べ物に比べて説明するとなおさらわかりやすいです。Alright, so 今回のレッスンでは従来の英会話でなかなか学べないことを学んでいただけたと思うんですね。でもほとんどの英語を勉強している方はフレーズ、文法をたくさん学ぶのにいきなり外国人と対面するってなると頭が真っ白になって言葉が出てこないという問題にぶつかってしまいます。具体的にどうしたらその問題を乗り越えて英語を実際に話せるようになるのでしょうか。そのためには英語の知識を増やすのではなく英語を実際に話す感覚を身につける必要があります。でもどうやってその感覚を身につけられるんでしょうか。それを今回の動画でシェアすると長くなりますので無料ガイドにまとめてみました。でその無料ガイドをゲットするには You can click up here or you can check it in the description box below.As always, enjoy your English adventures. 一緒に世界とつながりましょう See you next time! They tend to directly translate. I just mixed two words together right there. I'm making new words by myself.
Red bean paste. 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 There you go. Do you want to try red bean paste? No.
Hey, I said, do you wanna try 大福?
Oh, what's daifuku?
知ってるでしょ?
Oh, yeah. I'm just trying to make a point for this video.
なんでよ